hear us?
Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
There it goes.
Okay.
I don't know how long we didn't have sound. Oh, wow.
Okay, well, go ahead, Fred.
Okay, well, we're here, PrepXtra Live. We were experiencing some technical difficulties with our 10-year-old laptop that runs this show. Here comes Aram. We were just talking about how Aram walked in here pretty crusty as it was. He was at the San Marino Arroyo game, which in his head went about 3.5, 4. No, it never stopped. He got here 5 minutes before 11 because the game ran long. They scored almost 100 combined points, but Aram made it here. We got the show going, and we're ready to go. It was an interesting night, to say the least.
Let me just go back to what you were saying about the San Marino Arroyo game, Freddie. I have never seen a game stopped in between the first and second quarter so that they could have a ceremony honoring the guy.
They didn't do it at halftime.
Who had designed the stadium.
Yeah.
But he had passed away this summer. Hey, take it easy. Charter Oak's having a hard enough time as it is.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways.
They need to drop their helmet anymore.
Week 0 is in the books, and boy, we could start a lot of places, tonight with upsets, head-scratching results, and thrilling games. But I don't think there was a more thrilling game anywhere other than where Freddie was tonight. That was at San Dimas.
Yeah.
The battle of the last two Mid-Valley Division champions, Monrovia 24, San Dimas 23.
In
Freddie,
overtime.
Yeah. Sounds like a pretty tough beat for San Dimas, and a pretty nice win here for Monrovia. Take us through it.
Yeah, well, I mean, San Dimas jumped out to a 17-0 lead, and I turned up Mike the cousin. We were doing the game. He was doing the Scribble Live. And it looked like that there might be a blowout coming up. But, Monrovia, I talked to Mike just before the half. They scored 10 points just before the half. And I had actually tweeted out that I thought Monrovia would come back and win this game because Azaf Zamora, their quarterback, and some of the guys that, Aram, you talked about, their skill players and their speed, you could just see it there that they were going to have an opportunity to do something against San Dimas. I mean, they were throwing the ball long, and receivers were just not getting on the end of it. And for the most part, some of San Dimas' scores, they were a little fortunate. They got a turnover, and they were getting some good field position. Although they jumped on Monrovia early, from about the mid-second quarter on, all the way through the end of the game, they really got shut down. They really couldn't run the ball the way they normally could. And I asked Coach Zernico about it after the game, and he said, look, Monrovia's speed was a killer. It really got to them. The things that they want to do. You can only do it so well, Steve, but when guys have athletes and they can get after you, they can tackle the ball, they can make it hard. And they made it hard on Monrovia all night.
All right. We're burying the lead here, Fred.
Yeah.
And the lead is that this game went into overtime tied at
what happened?
Yeah.
Tell you what happened?
No, please, Fred. Tell me what you're going to eat for breakfast tomorrow. Come on.
Probably pancakes.
Well, I'll tell you what. San Dimas should have won this game in the last few minutes. They had a chance to kick a 22-yard field goal, which would have given them a 10-point lead.
That's a chippy.
In the last, I think it was about 4 minutes left, and they missed that field goal. Monrovia gets the ball back, and Zamora throws an 81-yard touchdown pass. That ties it at 17-all. With about 4 or 5 minutes left, probably somewhere around there. Both teams try to get something going near the end, and they can't. We go into overtime. San Dimas scores the first touchdown. They miss the extra point. It's blocked. Very next play, Zamora throws a 25-yard pass to Mosley. They kick the extra point, and there she goes, 24-23 Monrovia. I mean, they rallied all the way back. At the end of the day, they were a better team, Aram. I thought at the end of the day, even though San Dimas had chances to win, I just came away thinking that this Monrovia team is going to get better and better and better, and they have.
And San Dimas is
San Dimas, yeah, San Dimas is good. I just think Monrovia is going to be is a little better. Now, look, San Dimas traditionally sometimes they start this way. Last year against Bonita, they started this way.
Okay.
One thing, and you talked about this too. Although they won a championship last year, they've lost their last 5 non-league games. You go back to last year.
That's true.
That's something they got to get past. They got Los Altos coming in next.
Well, wait a second. I want to know something. So this extra point that gets blocked, first score in overtime, legit block. Who blocked it? Blocked up the middle. I mean, what? I mean.
I don't know who blocked it, but they got on top of them pretty quick, and there were like 3 or 4 bodies that got their arms stretched out.
So
and
it could have
they
been
got
any
a
one
hold
of four guys.
Yeah,
right?
they didn't tip it. They got a full arm on it.
Right.
And San Dimas is having trouble all night with the kicking game. Like I said, they missed 2 field goal chippies, plus that extra point.
I don't know how you're making it sound like San Dimas should have won the game. I mean, not like Monrovia. They're missing field goals, missing extra points, and losing by 1.
They should have won a game where Monrovia wasn't at its best for long stretches of the game.
Right. Okay.
I think Monrovia getting their timing down. Maybe it was a new coach. I don't know what it was. But I got the sense, and I tweeted this out at halftime, I think Monrovia is going to come back and win this game. I just had that feeling.
I saw you tweeting that.
Because, they had dropped some balls, but they had guys open. They had some big runs, but then drives would stall or they would turn the ball over. There were some punts. I mean, some snaps on punts that went over their head and they lost field position. San Dimas was real fortunate, I think, to get in a position to get in front and to have a chance to win it with the field goals. And even having a chance with the extra point. I just thought at the end of the day, I'm not surprised Monrovia won. I think if they played again, Monrovia would beat them.
Okay.
And I think if you're a Monrovia football fan, you got to feel really good about what they have.
Right.
I loved the way they mixed the run and pass up.
Right.
I love some of the throws they were doing. Short passes, then long. Short passes, then long.
Okay.
I think their coach,
Chris
Stevens' first game, I think he did a tremendous job. Keeping them in it, making them believe, and in the second half they were different too.
Yeah, well, so congrats to Chris Stevens on that first win as Monrovia coach. Obviously, thrilling game, 24-23. Wildcats tonight. The big game that none of us were at tonight because it took place deep in the heart of Orange County, but it was one of the biggest games in Southern California. Fred's shaking his head already. Yeah. I guess I should be too.
Eric Sonheimer is nodding his head. He's going.
He had that decked out, and I guess the rest of the media did too. That doesn't work in the San Diego Valley. Okay, so we could be talking about none other than Santa Margarita beating Bishop Amat 26-21. This is a game that none of us were at. We were following on Twitter, and I'm sure we're going to hear quite a bit, Freddie, in the blogosphere coming up over the weekend on this. I got to tell you, from my perspective, this is very disappointing, simply because, I didn't think this game would be that close at all. I thought Amat would win rather easily. Obviously I was wrong about that. That, not only was the game close, but Amat didn't even win. Amat briefly led 21-20, I believe it was, after a long Brandon Arconato kickoff return. Set them up. But I guess Santa Margarita went right downfield and went back ahead, and then Amat couldn't score. But
Well, Amat had a chance to win near the end. I was following the tweets. They drove all the way down to the 15, and they had 4 shots at the end zone and didn't in.
Okay, so that's kind of the theme that I could gather from Twitter tonight. From what I understand, 3 turnovers in Santa Margarita territory in the first half tonight. And obviously I think there was a 4th turnover in the second half. I could be wrong about that, but Amat obviously had their chances, Freddie, and they don't get it done tonight. They start off 0-1, which is, it's not the end of the world, but it's disappointing. And now you're going to Aledo, Texas, to play, a team that was just unbelievable last year in Texas. I don't know, man. I hope I'm wrong, but I hope things don't snowball on them, yet. And obviously, with a young quarterback like Damian Garcia, you expect some growing pains, but. What we're going to see. What were you going to say? I'm speechless at this point.
It's more of the same. It's what we've seen the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, these are the kind of games. If Amat's going to finally get in the Pac-5 or do something in the league, they're going to have to start winning these games and winning them convincingly, Aram, like you thought they were capable of. I mean, to have another game like this, I know they had 4 turnovers, but to go over there in another close game and lose. I just feel like, is this what it's going to be all season? I know the Pac-5 is real competitive, but I just think that this is just more evidence that maybe Bishop Amat's just an average, middle-of-the-road Pac-5 team that can beat anyone on any given day, but can get beat by anyone on any given day at that level. They're not separating themselves. They're not going out and becoming a world beater or taking that next step at this level. I mean, you're seeing it again. Forget Texas next week and what happens, and will it snowball, Steve? I don't know, but I think sometimes when you you start 0-1. If you start 0-2,
Start 0-2, then
at the end of the day, they're high school kids, and they start feeling it. They start hearing it on campus. They start reading it on Twitter. They start reading it on the blogs. I mean, it gets out there, and I think they're a team who, when you're trying to turn the corner, you need every ounce of whatever you can get to feel good about yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
this ain't it.
When you start off 0-2, you kind of start to doubt yourself, and you need something that that's going to shed some positive light to it, and hopefully when they get into the rest of their schedule, from their perspective, that they're able to have some positive moments to get it turned around. But sometimes it's hard.
But there are no breaks, Freddie. I mean, Chino Hills looks like the softest of their opponents. And what, they got in a slug out tonight with a slugfest with Hart tonight?
They scored. They scored over 70 points.
I don't know what the final score was in that game, but then you talk about the league that they're going to be in this year, in the Mission League. It's insane, Fred. I don't know where you come up for air if you're Amat, and if you can't go on the road and beat Santa Margarita, and maybe Santa Margarita is going to go on to be one of the top teams in the Pac-5, but I've already seen tweets saying couldn't win a game against one of the bottom Trinity League teams, and now obviously that's a fantastic league. I don't know where you go from here. I mean, I just, if it doesn't happen, and I know it's too early to even, start thinking like this, but after a loss like that, your mind runs. If it doesn't happen with these two classes back to back, I don't know when it's going to happen.
And here's some of the things, I mean, just going off of tweets and following that, and we had the game actually on a live stream in the press box at San Dimas, so we were able to watch a little bit of it. Still giving up big plays. I know they have a pretty good quarterback. When you think of Amat's strength supposedly being its secondary, they're still giving up big plays, which has been their MO for I don't know how long with this team.
At least 3 or 4 years.
And the other thing is, if they're not going to be able to score the ball, it took them too long to really get going. I know they have a new quarterback, but Camargo wasn't able to really establish himself and have a really big night. So
he's not a natural running back.
No, and those are two important positions that you've got to be great at in the Pac-5. Now, granted, their defense against the run, they did what they always do, and they came up with some big stops, big turnovers at times. But still, I mean, they give up too many big plays. When they get the lead towards the end, they allow a team to come right back. I mean, you think by this point with the guys that they have, the personnel, they would have some lockdown defenders, and I don't know what it is because they've had those athletes before, but it just seems like over the years following them, they can't shut people down. Yeah. They really can't. They can't shut these great passing offenses down. Maybe nobody can in the Pac-5 for the most part, but the great teams do, and they're clearly not a great team.
Yeah, look, we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's a long season. They are a very talented team. We'll see what happens, but disappointment tonight for Bishop Amat. By the way, a public service announcement. If you're trying to text me, don't text my 562 number. Text my 626 number because my 562 phone is died. So if you're trying to text me and tell me anything for the show, do it to the 626 number.
You're a man of many phones.
Yeah, right. Well, you can ask the company about that.
Yeah, same here.
Anyways, anyways, moving on here. Freddie, I think this is probably the upset of the night. This is a team that I had, talked about in our preview video, and they deliver. I didn't pick them in this game. I don't think you did either. I'm not sure anybody did, but I did think this team was going to be much improved. They were up to number 4 in my all-encompassing SGVN rankings, so that kind of says something. La Mirada with a 26-23 win over Tesoro tonight. Absolutely huge win for La Mirada. Freddie, considering the season that they're coming off of, the 4-7 with all the disappointment, the winless non-league last year, the blowout loss to Mirror in the playoffs. La Mirada, like I had said, is reloaded with transfers. I mean, just up the yin-yang. So they come out in 26-23 tonight over a Tesoro team that has a very nice quarterback and was I think in a lot of people's top 10s for the Pac-5. I could be wrong.
Well, I think Last year they didn't have any of these step-up wins. They really didn't. They really needed something like that, and to get it in game one. I mean, last year you heard all the hype. This year you're hearing the hype. You need to do something about it at some point, and they did. Tesoro's no joke. I mean, they've been a legitimate Pac-5 team the last couple of years, so that's going to do incredible things for their confidence. And going forward, looking at their schedule, Aram.
Charter Oak next week.
Yeah, Charter Oak next week. I mean, Charter Oak. There's a good chance to start 0-2 after losing to Green Valley, who was supposedly one of the better teams in Nevada, not named Bishop Gorman, but.
Yeah, really. We'll get to that in a second, but I mean, sticking with La Mirada, Freddie, when we look at the Southeast Division, we've talked about how St. Francis looks like the favorite cathedral.
Them in the mix now.
Yes. Yeah, I think this win tonight by La Mirada definitely puts them in that mix, and they have a chance. I mean, obviously we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I mean, Norwalk had a big win tonight. They still got to get by them in the league. We're not even in September.
We're talking about
right.
Who's gonna
but I think it's safe to say. This will probably go down as one of the better non-league wins of anyone in that division. And, La Mirada still has to play Servite. Yeah. That won't be easy, obviously, but they have games with La Habra and Charter Oak also. That ought to be very interesting. By the way, La Habra, they lose tonight to El Toro, 51-35. So a little bit of disappointment and kind of a shootout there. Okay, we can move on here. Stevie, the game you were at tonight, Diamond Bar, goes to Montebello and wins 48-14. This is kind of a game we all thought would get out of hand, and I think
I didn't think it would get out of hand that as quickly as it did. They scored on their first two drives. They led 14-0. Then they had a turnover that set up a Montebello touchdown, but then they scored on 3 of their last 4 possessions of the half, and they led 41-7 at half. Noodles had a couple big plays.
There you go, Aaron.
That's kind of what we should kind of get out of the way here. What did Noodles do tonight in his regular season return?
His name is Antonio Ho, for all those who wondering what Noodles Stevie ate tonight. Go ahead.
Well, it's the first time I've seen him play, so I was very impressed. But he had a 62-yard punt return for a touchdown. On their first possession, he had a 60-yard reception where he just outran the cornerback and he set up that touchdown. He had 69 yards rushing.
Best player on the field?
Yeah. But I was really also impressed with the quarterback, Tyler Peterson, who threw for 162 yards, accounted for 4 touchdowns. He ran for 3. I like the way he played, and so they were very impressive,
right?
And Montebello was just as
unimpressive. Thank you.
Unimpressive. So
that's about all I want to hear about that game. But I do want to tell you guys something though. Freddie, you had brought this up the Central Division rankings. Early poll. Diamond Bar's number 4. Did you see that? Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Diamond Bar's number 4. Hey, where should we, should we start, I'm not going to base this off of a win over Montebello, but should we, are we crazy to kind of discount them in the Palomares League, at least this year against South Hills, Glendora?
Now. I mean, look, there are scores, Diamond Bar was impressive. Diamond Ranch winning 70-0 tonight, first game. The post Roddy Layton there, and Roddy actually.
That was against Nogales.
Yeah, Davion Gacy had 5 touchdowns in that game. Yeah, it was against Nogales. I bet Bruce Alley is pretty glad he stepped away from that coaching job right about now. But still, I mean,
for the time being,
the 2 diamonds looking this great in week 1, or at least on paper,
and they don't play
blowing out teams. I mean, the Diamond Bar one was obviously more impressive.
They don't play each other now, Fred.
But Diamond Bar's coach again, his name escapes me. What was his name?
Marcus Hughes.
Marcus Hughes.
Yeah, Aaron. I remember when they hired him, and I was
from New York,
reading some background in New York, how he went there and turned a program around, and he was getting a lot of praise, and he was a coach of their section up there, and really known as a program motivator type of guy. I mean, if he can get this going at Diamond Bar with Noodles and the athletes they have, who knows?
Somebody brought up a good point on the blog, giving me heat about Diamond Bar, saying like I didn't rank them in this this opening all-encompassing SGVN top 25. They were like saying, how can you always say that Noodles is one of the top 2 or 3 players in the area, which I do believe he is. and then not rank them? And that's kind of a good question. I don't have a good answer.
I don't think
if you have a guy like that, if you have a guy like that, maybe you are deserving of a number 4.
Well, answer the question. How could you leave him out?
I told you I don't have a good answer. I don't. That's a good question. Did you
just forget? Or sometimes you just forget teams.
I did not.
Sometimes you go through, you put rankings down, and then someone reminds you, "Where's Diamond?"
For me, it's very hard to rank a team that I had pegged to finish 4th or 5th in its league, and now I'm starting to wonder. Is there really enough there to say South Hills is a lock to be above them, or Ayala is a lock to be above them? I'm just saying,
I've done that before. I've had rankings, and I put them out, and someone's called me on it, and I try to come up with some good excuse why they're not there, when the reality is that
I don't have a good answer.
You just forget to put them on.
I didn't forget, but I don't have a much better answer. Anyway, moving on, the game.
Pasadena, 50-7 over South El Monte.
That was not the game I was at tonight, but that will be the game I'm at.
Back.
That will be the game I'm at next week. Yeah, Freddie, that's a team I've been high on in the rankings as well.
PHS looking good. Mir losing to
PHS has a big-time receiver named Tyreek Adams, and they have a transfer from Downey at quarterback named George Reyna. I've heard some really nice things about them this year, and we're going to find out next week when they play LaSalle in a game that I'll be at, because LaSalle is an easy winner tonight against Compton and Elijah Asante. Somebody had tweeted me.
You look at those scores, that's a pretty good game, LaSalle, Pasadena next week.
They're both going to be 1-0, and obviously, that's a Pasadena city.
You came into the office saying LaSalle's going to blow them out. I mean, you went on record telling me that.
I just get the feeling this is going to be one of these step-up games for PHS that turns ugly, but I could,
Aaron's calling it a blowout.
Wouldn't be the first time. I'll give you my official prediction.
He didn't tell me that off the record.
I'll give you my official prediction.
LaSalle's going to blow them out.
Official prediction next week, Freddie. Thank you. Okay, so all right, moving on here. We mentioned this earlier. Charter Oak tonight, a 26-23 loser to Green Valley of Nevada. That's a team from Henderson, Nevada. Not a good start for Charter Oak, Freddie. I mentioned this kind of when we did our preview show that I think this team's going to have growing pains. They're very young. They're replacing a ton of guys on defense. New QB. I mean, Zion Eccles is back, but young receivers. They're going to obviously, I think, I think this might be even a carbon copy of last year, where they struggled early. They didn't win an on-league game. They'll win an on-league game this year because I think Bell Gardens is on the schedule.
I think they're going to be fine. I mean, who knows? I mean, I did some brief reading on this Nevada team they played. That was a pretty good team.
Pretty good team, yeah.
Here. That wasn't some.
But it wasn't Bishop Gorman.
No, it wasn't Bishop Gorman. But I mean, it was a good team. And next week they're going to play La Mirada, and you're going to get a better idea. But who knows? I still think Charter Oak. It's good that they're playing this non-league schedule because I think like a San Dimas when they get to their league and when they get to the Mid Valley division, I think Charter Oak is going to be just fine.
The Central division
when they get to Central. No, I'm saying what. San Dimas, when they lose
games
and they get to the Mid-Valley, I think they get in their comfort zone.
Right.
I wouldn't worry about Charter Oak, whether they start 0-2 after next week or what have you.
You still keep them number 1 in the Central?
No, I don't know if I keep
Glendora number 1?
Not after a loss. I think
Glendora without a game yet? Number 1?
I'd have to.
You'll get there eventually on that Glendora bandwagon, trust me.
Look at all the wins, but I definitely think that Diamond Bar, you can't, them at number 4. I mean, Monrovia at number 5. I mean, maybe these are deserving. I didn't think they were when they first came out.
Right. Okay, so the game I was at tonight, thanks for asking.
San Marino Arroyo.
San Marino and Arroyo. This is a 56-34 win for San Marino that was marred by a knee injury to San Marino's arguably their best player. He's a returning all-area defensive back, wide receiver named Tyler Spitzer. I think it was their first or second offensive play. San Marino, the kid, catches kind of like a quick out, makes a couple moves, gets tackled, and then he doesn't get up, grabbing the knee. That's it. I mean, they have a pretty reliable orthopedic guy on the sideline at San Marino, and the word was he tore his ACL. And the kid didn't return to the game. He actually left and went home in the first half. Just a brutal thing to see happen to such a good player. I mean, this is a kid, Freddie, that a week or two ago committed to play at Harvard next year. He's an all-area baseball player as well, one of the best leadoff guys, if not the best leadoff guy in the Pasadena area.
I mean, how's that going to affect them, you think, going forward?
It didn't affect them much tonight. That's because the debut, the varsity start, first varsity start for Carson Glazer, a quarterback that's gotten a lot of hype, that a lot of people have kind of seen coming, was just awesome. 6 touchdown passes tonight. He was electric. This San Marino team, they don't have like a very big roster in terms of numbers, but they're very heady. This Glazer kid's good. He's got a very nice arm. He gets the ball out faster. They're a spread high octane, up tempo team. And Arroyo just couldn't stay with them tonight. Yeah. I mean, they'd throw it left, right, deep. Things just opened up, and Arroyo scored some points, but this game was like 42-14 in the third quarter. So, when you destroy Arroyo like that, you're doing something well. And now you have to wonder, Stevie's a guy that put San Marino up there with Monrovia, actually ahead of them in both the Rio Hondo League and the Star News top 5 rankings. With Spitzer, that starts to look even better. Without him, I don't know. Yeah. But they're in the Central Division, Freddie, where we talked about, Charter Oak, Diamond Bar, and so on. The San Marino team, they're good. They can certainly move the ball on offense. I don't know what's going to happen when they line up against, defensive backs who are just as fast. Yeah. But, I mean, outstanding debut for Glazer and back to the drawing board, so to speak, for Roy. It was funny. I asked Singheiser, Singheiser is like, king of the great quotes. I asked him after the game, about the game. And, first thing he says is like, hey, can I use the excuse now that they're a Central Division team? So I was like, yeah, all right, go ahead. So, yeah, I actually used that. And, he just said, like, hey, look, if we had guys in practice that we could simulate San Marino with, they'd have been out there playing offense for us tonight. But we didn't. We have JV guys, and that's not going to, show you how fast and good San Marino is. So, good win by San Marino. Steve, you're looking all right there with that.
You've seen Monrovia over the years, and the great thing is for that Rio Hondo League is you really have something now. These two teams that you're going to anticipate a great game, but you haven't really had that feel for a long time. I mean, God, I go back to the Monrovia Temple City games, way back when you used to get that feel and then wait for that anticipation of that big game. Great. I think that's great for them, and maybe it does come at a time moving to the Central where 2 of these teams will have a chance to maybe beat a couple of teams. And there's Keith Lair, who helped edit our PrepXtra magazine. If you haven't seen it, it was on home racks and home delivery today. He did a great job doing that. But getting back, that's going to be. Yeah. Well, Steve, you talked about it. I mean, you actually put San Marino over.
Yeah. The only bad part about this year is they open league against each other.
Well, that's stupid. You scheduled that.
No, it's just the cycle.
It's just the cycle that they do.
When you play the last game of last year, you play the first game of this year.
That's dumb. You should have the right to reschedule after you do with coaches pre-rankings or you go ahead. You should be able to sit down and say, you know what? We realize you guys are 2 best teams. We'll let you play at the end of the season.
That's too much for some ADs to do, Fred.
Yeah. Well, they got to think outside the box. That just makes sense. Sometimes
think outside. Well, that's what they do in the Pacific League with Muir and Pasadena. They let them play the Turkey Tussle the last game of the year.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Sticking with the Central Division, Colony 26, West Covina 7. Freddie, not the result that you want to see if you're West Covina and you have designs on winning this division, because Colony is a Central Division team. They're going to be one of the contenders, obviously, this year in the Central. And West Covina, a Central Division team.
You're starting to wonder if West Covina has run its course.
Ooh.
With they used to. You remember, Aaron, when they won their back-to-back championships.
Yeah,
this was a school that you just said the athlete turnover was getting incredible. I mean, they seemed like they were the team that would have 5, 6 guys who can run the football, and they could run all day, and they can do whatever they wanted against you, and they were super physical on defense. You saw it start to come last year with some of the games they lost. They don't overpower teams anymore, and certainly in the new league they're in now, having to go against Charter Oak in their league and Los Altos. You wonder if that run where they're a dominant San Gabriel Valley team has run its course. This is the first time I
dominant? That has run its course.
I think they've clearly taken a step back.
Yeah, I mean, this result not good. I mean, if you're playing another, Central Division contender and you get worked like this. Now, we don't have the details, but,
there's just no buzz right now with West Covina like there used to be.
Well, that's because Noodles is at Diamond Bar.
I don't think it's just him. I just think it's they used to, they used to lose the Noodles but replace them with 3 or 4 other guys.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
And their linemen.
They used to be a team that got away with winning.
Good.
They didn't need a running back because you couldn't stop them. You're stopping them now.
Yeah, well, Colony certainly did tonight. We should mention elsewhere, in the Central Division at least, half of this game was Los Altos 12, Santa Monica 6. Good win for Los Altos. Santa Monica was a pretty nice opponent to play in week 0. So, maybe not the flash that you'd want to see from Los Altos' offense, but that's not really their calling card. Things will come sloppy. Game, Freddie, that I was surprised was very close tonight, and Baldwin Park pulled it out the end, 33 over.
That was a great game. That was a great game. That was one game on Twitter I was following. It was kind of going back and forth.
Me too, because I've really touted and hyped this Baldwin Park team, and I don't know if El Monte's that good. Joel Sanchez over at El Monte was kind of telling me, like, hey, man, I know we were 1-9 last year, but we're a lot better. And they have this kid Barajas who's supposed to be, they think he's the top player in the league, and they may have a point. I think he had a pretty good game tonight. You see Rosemead lose last night, Freddie. You see Arroyo lose tonight, and you start to wonder, if Baldwin Park is as good as I thought, and El Monte almost beat them and had that late lead on them, then maybe El Monte's in the mix for the Mission Valley League championship. I don't know, but that's a pretty nice.
It's kind of hard to discount.
Right, it is.
Arroyo losing to a team like San Marino.
Even Rosemead, yeah, you're right.
Or Rosemead, I saw them against Northview last night, and that was a winnable game for them. I mean,
I'm just saying,
it's early. We're
right. Couple big first wins tonight. Greg Gano first win at Wilson, 41-19 over Workman, and Steve Bogan. First win at Maranatha, 42-20 over Bassett.
How great does that have to feel for those two guys? I mean, just getting started like that, when you look at what Coach Gano had gone through the last few years at Tustin and at Damien, and kind of Coach Bogan, his last year at South Hills where he struggled, and he was really burned out of football, it seemed like. I mean, what a great fresh start for those guys. I mean, they're at places you never imagined they would be. Maranatha and Wilson High School, two legends, two guys in this valley who own 8 championships between them.
4 championships,
But I think that's great for them because at the end of the day, I think they're just football guys who love being around it. And, as long as it's competitive, you give them like talent. I think that's all they really want. Let's see what happens. Although in past years they've had more talent than other teams. But this is great.
This is for the love of the game right now, Fred, for these guys.
It is.
That is until they start kicking people's asses.
And I think they're going to be where they are for a little while now, too.
Like I said, love of the game until they start kicking people's asses. And then, Freddie, you'll start to see them get some guys in, and they'll get the old scowl going. And
they want to come into the studio, start talking, start making that phone call.
Yeah, we're going to get that 5th ring, bud. Listen, I think that just about does it, for tonight. Bonita with a win over Sure. El Rancho, a team with a lot of high expectations. They put up a lot of points and beat Claremont tonight.
Do you miss any biggies? Okay, did you get Bonita over Sure, 37-20?
Just a couple of seconds ago, as a matter of fact. This is a big loss tonight for Mirror. They played a very talented Salesian team, Stevie, that we know is considered to be really well stocked for a good run in the Angeles League with St. Francis.
That's a team they were trying to throw to the Pac-5. Cathedral. I mean, who knows?
Well, they have really gotten some guys in, Fred.
That's why some of those games early on, I don't know how much stock you could put in.
No, well, the score surprises me because
surprises me too.
Yeah, I mean, but just the way Muir has played the last couple of years under Coach Hardy, they've had some games against tough opponents, and they've been in those games, at
least for a little while or whatnot.
So,
but what worried me tonight was I saw somebody had tweeted that Tayon Mason was out or not playing. That's obviously their best player, and then their quarterback Chase Keto, I read a tweet that he got hurt and left the game too. I don't know what happened if this was some kind of disastrous night for Muir or what, but 27-3 loss to Salesian. we'll have to find out what the heck's going on here.
And also, I would say if you're Jim Bonds at St. Francis or Russell Gordon at LaSalle, when you see a score like that, it's going to wake you up.
Right. That league's ridiculous for Steve.
And before we leave, I think, Aram, you talked before we started about what your biggest surprise is.
Right, that's the final question of the night.
I mean, we
will
talked
go
about
through.
a lot
Freddie,
of
you can start. Your biggest surprise tonight and your biggest disappointment.
Biggest disappointment is Bishop Amat losing. I mean, it really is, because it is a game. I wasn't as convinced as you that they were going to win, but I was pretty sure they were going to win. To go down there and to commit 4 turnovers, again, they're not taking that next step. Biggest surprise is a game we really didn't talk about. I thought Arcadia beating Alhambra 40-0. No, you're not surprised by that?
No.
I am. I mean, that kind of surprises me that they would
Arcadia
win.
was favored,
Yeah, but to win it that convincingly.
These are schools that are changing coaches every year.
Yeah. Last year...
what are you going to say, La Mirada over Tesoro?
Well, I'll let Stevie give his biggest surprise and biggest disappointment.
That's probably my biggest surprise is La Mirada over Tesoro. I thought La Mirada might be able to keep it close, but I wasn't sure if they could win the game. And I'm kind of a little bit shocked at La Habra's. That'd be my biggest disappointment, is La Habra losing to El Toro.
El Toro's got a QB, man.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the kid's name, but I know they have a pretty good QB.
Yeah.
Okay, my biggest surprise, La Mirada, Freddie guessed it. In the sense that I thought that they'd be much improved and that they're one of the, top 5, all teams in all the areas that we cover. I guess it's not a surprise, but, Tesoro was, considered to be a very good team. And for La Mirada to have this team held to like 15 points and into like the, fourth quarter, well into the fourth quarter is a pretty big surprise, and good for them to turn it around. Biggest disappointment for me tonight is like a tie. One of them is the result with Bishop Amat. That's a disappointment to me. I thought that they would, like I said, handle this team, with relative ease.
Maybe we're just a bunch of homers here, Aram.
I'm sure that's part of it, but I don't think
no other reporters outside this room probably.
That's fine, but no other reporters also cover them, outside of this room. And, you have a team with guys that have USC, Stanford, all these Pac-12 offers, 3 guys. This is a team that you beat by 10 last year, and you have all these mistakes. It's a big disappointment. So that's it. And also, disappointment with Tyler Spitzer. That's obviously not a result, but just that kind of ruined the night for me to see a kid like that, who means so much to San Marino and is one of the top athletes overall in the Pasadena area, go down with an injury like that and probably be lost for the season. How these kids are gearing up for their senior year, and to lose it like in one of the first few plays of the game. It's just that's football. It's just, it can be a sick, gut-wrenching game. So that was somber to see, or sad to see. So a real somber moment. Hopefully the kid gets better and maybe he can be back out there for baseball season.
Hey, it's midnight now, Aaron.
Yeah.
Which means UCLA starts in 9 hours. So
9 hours, that's right, Fred. And breakfast at McDonald's is in 5.5.
Yeah, probably for you. I've got a wife now, so I'm hoping there's breakfast in the morning when I wake up.
You should cook breakfast for her once in a while.
What do you want? So how do you know that I don't?
There's a box of cereal and a note.
Are you in my house when the breakfast is made?
Well, just the way you say that, like you expect her to have breakfast for you every day.
Like I said, a box of cereal and a note. Freddie, this is how you make cereal. Okay. Well, everybody, we'll be back early next week with our
holiday Monday.
2-minute drills.
Our much ballyhooed 2-minute drills that a lot of people from SoCal seem to really enjoy.
Yeah.
But between now and then, get on the blog, share your thoughts. I'm sure there's going to be lots of them. Sure, the Monrovia people are going to to be going crazy over this 1-point win, that came after some missed field goals and a block extra point. Way to dominate.
Let's close the show.
Let's hear what the Juggernaut did and how great that was.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, all they did was match each other and
Oh man,
Someone's
we're really setting the
someone's
stage.
got to lose, huh?
Really setting the stage.
Yeah.
Anyways,
They're
you won't have
ready to win the
you won't have La Mirada to kick around anymore, Fred. Okay, we'll be back.
Unless Charter Oak comes over there and smacks them next week in their backyard.
Don't hold your breath.
As long as it's a quick game.
That game is at Walnut, isn't it?